All right, Troy, you are host, so you can take over and do things as needed. Yeah. And then you can reassign as needed. There was no acknowledgement in that.
Sorry, I didn't think I was muted. Yep, I said yep both times.
Okay. See you. Go start the other.
Oh, Julian, you're moving too fast. Who else do I need to make a co-host, Julian?
I just saw Ron Epstein in the other room. I'm guessing
Yeah,
he's happening.
I didn't think he was going to make it. He said he wasn't going to make it, so I was surprised to see him. But yeah, I did notice he was there.
Sorry, Troy, I was bouncing around moving.
No,
There
you're
should
fine.
be hosts. I think it's gonna be Brandon, Lisa, myself, and Matt Renault from our team.
I saw Matt somewhere. There you are. So I was not able to download that video yesterday.
Okay.
I didn't have access.
Oh.
But since you're host, you should be able to just play it through the recorder. We were looking into it this morning. If you just play it through the recorder, and I don't mean like by sharing. If you play it through the recorder and have a copy of it locally, it'll play it through the Zoom events portal instead of just like a share screen, and it won't have that
How
issue.
do I get it into the recorder is the only thing.
I honestly don't totally know that. Let me see if I can figure that out really quick.
Okay.
Once the
Yeah,
video
'cause I've got it open locally too. I can just put it right in and we'll go. Or we can just re-interview Lisa now and do it live.
Here, let me spotlight you guys too. Lisa, I think is that everybody, or was there one more? Oh, there's Ron. Let's get him too.
I'm here. How's everyone doing?
I think that was everybody. I think, yeah. Cool. All right. So I'll keep looking into the video thing real quick, and I'll just I figure it out.
I think I've got it.
Okay, perfect.
Right, so
so
there's an advanced button.
Yeah, so just real quick, just a big thank you to Epiphan for sponsoring our conference and participating with this panel. I guess Ron and Julian, the people who I've been conversing with. So I'll just kind of throw it to you guys to introduce the rest of the team here, and we can go ahead and get started.
Sure. Thanks, Troy. So yeah, so Ron and I have kind of been putting this together from our side. We were really fortunate and happy to be joined by Lisa Bowles and Brandon Polk from NC State University, because really, and well, on our team, we also have Matt Renault, who's our technical expert who knows everything about Perl and CMS integration, has supported schools here, longer than Ron and I have known about Crestron, or not Crestron, about Epiphan.
But still Crestron too, having been there for so long.
Exactly. Matt's been around probably longer than many of us, so he'll be able to answer any questions that you guys haven't figured out on your own. Really at Epiphan, we're excited to host the session because we really believe in empowering our partners and kind of delivering real solutions for folks. And Ron and I were having dinner with BC from Hatchet from Vanderbilt and Joe and in Barcelona at ISE, and I said that to them, and Joe starts making fun of me like, oh, of course the marketing guy says that. But the reason why Ron and I are both here is because we truly believe that, and just the responsiveness of the team here is like nowhere I've ever worked. That really, I hope Lisa and Brandon feel the same way. They know they can pick up the phone, and we'll be there to help, and we'll be there to keep designing new solutions. I mean, you'll see in the quick presentation here, every single thing we've made at Epiphan is a direct response to customer request and folks trying to help us kind of break down barriers. So I'll share a little bit about us and kind of who we are at Epiphan. And really what we believe in is it's broadcast without barriers. We want to help you deliver broadcast quality, better video everywhere across campus. And, like I said, it's really about empowering everybody in this room to do their jobs better and really deliver this better video solutions for folks. And, I love when, companies will throw up words and, we say trusted, intuitive, innovative. I've been at Epiphan now about a year and a half. I've known the guys at Epiphan for many years from past life at Crestron, but these words are not things that we make up ourselves. They're actually, I've probably met with 150 different folks in this year and a half here. And these are all things that customers tell us as, hey, this is why I choose Epiphan. I trust you guys are going to deliver. Stuff's easy to use to get better quality video, and we're always kind of pushing boundaries. And that's really the core of who we are. Is we're a bunch of folks that really enjoy what we do and creating content, whether that's our live show every week, whether it's helping folks like yourselves deliver better solutions across campus. And it's kind of funny, tacky, hey, I'm going to put a picture of a building up there, but that's really Matt and the team are literally sitting inside of one of those windows on most days, and they're all there sitting directly next to our engineers. So when you pick up the phone and call, it's someone here that works for Epiphan that's ready to help you. And there's not tiers of support. It's you're talking to Matt or one of his colleagues, or they're going right to the engineer that built the product next to them to help you solve any challenges you may have, or in many cases, build what the next Epiphan product is. And that's kind of how we've, as I said, naturally evolved. The first thing we actually made was a capture card. That was at that time, we were joking about VGA in the hangout room, was VGA to USB for use in the International Space Station to capture medical data from the astronauts and send that back down to Earth. And that technology was then used to deliver the first kind of HDMI to USB capture for things like link room systems that now go into Teams and Zoom and many others. And that really led to the Pearl devices that most of you on this call that are using Epiphan have in your schools in different spots today. And that was just that natural evolution from customers asking us, hey, you're capturing this video, can we record it? Can we send it somewhere with streaming? And why don't we do both? And why don't we add some enhancement in there? And that's where Pearl 1 came about. We then released a fun device that was the first Epiphan device I used and discovered called Webcaster X2. That was a consumer level one button streaming device in 2017. I'll say we probably would not all be here right now if we released this in 2020 because we'd just be, doing people wanting to stream to YouTube. But we were a little ahead of our time there. And that actually taught us a lot about what we released in the cloud management tool that folks like, Lisa and Brandon, the team at NC State use, as well as a bunch of other schools that when you deploy, 100, 200, 300 of these Pearls across campus, you need a centralized management tool to be able to sit at your desk and manage them across. And that led us there. And it's kind of leading into the stuff we've been releasing over the last year around cloud production and bridging video conferencing tools with some of these production tools to, again, just let you deliver better video and kind of evolve with you as you go to next gen solutions. Because, people are starting to talk cloud now, and what's that next step look like? Well, we're already thinking 5 years ahead, hopefully. And part of that really is by working with kind of all those standards and all the different partners that you know and love and expect across campus. So we work with major CMS platforms like Kaltura, Panopto, and Yuja, and those are deep native integrations with our devices, as well as having certified, natively developed plugins for all the major control companies. With the QSys plugin is supposed to go live sometime next week. They've signed off. We're just waiting for the final certification from them. Which is one of our really fun announcements at ISE 2 weeks ago now. We also, from a streaming side, all those network protocols, whether it's SRT, NDI, we're ready and supported by them, and we're working closely with big names both on the broadcast side like Grass Valley, as well as that kind of workplace tech and Microsoft. And why we're here is, we work with a whole range of schools across the US, Europe, really across the world. And we're really proud of kind of not only the number, and I share this, but it's also the diversity of schools, both regionally, nationally, size of school, small, medium, large. We work with folks everywhere to really deliver better video. And my favorite part is having spoken to probably 60% of the schools in this slide. And that when we have our little chat and Q&A at the end, you'll see, I don't think any two schools on here are using our gear in exactly the same way. We've really made sure that the devices are flexible and can adapt to your needs on campus so that when Middle Tennessee State is doing lecture capture in their classrooms to Panopto, and Lisa and Brandon were looking for a solution. They were able to talk about, hey, what's going on? How are you guys doing it? But they didn't deploy it exactly the same way. It was flexible enough to fit into what they needed. And that's really, what all of our devices and our hardware is about. It's about better video everywhere on campus and empowering you with a flexible solution set that'll cover wherever you need to go, whatever type of space it is, whether it's a lecture hall, a science lab, the president's office, because he or she wants to stream out a lecture, or not a lecture, but a special event of sorts. And really, like I've been talking about, our devices are really about setting new expectations and really challenging what you think you do with video, making it easy to deliver great video. And we're really proud to have, been recognized not only as award-winning, but also in a whole range of HETMA approved devices. And that's our Pearl family. All three of them were approved. And I think I've never seen such positive feedback from folks, and how, folks testing the Pearl Mini were actually able to really run out and deploy it after their current streaming solution failed, and they were up and running and saved an event on campus because they had this demo device they didn't know existed or how to use, a couple days before, and they were able to get up and running. And that family really starts with that Pearl 2, which was, we'll call it the production powerhouse. That was our original device. It had, the evolution of our original device. It's got the most horsepower. It has the most inputs and outputs. So you can really truly turn any space into almost a full-on production studio with just the Pearl 2. And we see folks use these for whether it's that studio on campus, it's being able to stream a multi-camera graduation event or commencement event at the end of the year, and really, or even turning a lecture hall or auditorium, being able to capture multiple cameras in the room. We also have schools that are using these kind of rack mounted to capture 3 different classrooms in one, because it does have the power to serve multiple spaces. That's something where, again, you're bringing all those cameras and inputs in, and you can be recording and streaming multiple ISOs and program feeds out of the same device. Kind of the most popular in this space is what Lisa termed, we were down there back in April of last year, is the Magic Box, is our Pearl Mini. This is kind of another folks HETMA review called it a video Swiss Army knife. It's really flexible and adaptable so that you can use this device to produce content or capture content across campus. It has a touchscreen on the front that you're able to operate it from, but it also slots nicely into a rack for those lecture capture scenarios. And folks have even used these as self-serve studios where you're just feeding cameras right in. Faculty and staff, students can come in and just create and record content just using this device. Some of the folks we talked about, I'll kind of go through these quickly with classroom capture. This is an example actually from Norway. They've deployed all their science classrooms with Pearl Minis that are actually the professors logging in directly on it. They just sent us a new video this week where they've integrated with their Crestron system to let professors badge into the device to connect it right to their Panopto instance and press start. And it's really simplified the workflow over there, as well as, talking about the Pearl 2 setup. University of Rhode Island, Katie and Jeffrey and the team over there have really built out a dual track setup based on the size of the classrooms. They've got Pearl Minis in some of their kind of standard classrooms, and then their auditorium setups, they've been able to use the Pearl 2 to capture multiple NDI cameras into it and use that as kind of the hub for those larger spaces to be able to get multiple views and switching those cameras in there as well. The really fun one, I saw Raul was in, he did a really great session, I believe sometime last year for the CCUMC, well now ETC group, on what they built out with the Pearl Mini as a self-serve studio for folks able to come in and record their own content. And BC at Vanderbilt has done similar, where he didn't even use a control system for it. He just fed in the camera, a PC via USB input, and the microphones right into the device. Professor could walk in, press the giant start button on the screen, record their lecture to a thumb drive plugged into the back, and they were off and running with that. So it's a really flexible system that you can use. And other folks will even use them. The folks at University of Michigan won't even touch classroom capture with hardware because they've built their own solution. Their events team actually has a fleet of Pearl Minis that if they have a guest lecture on campus, they'll come in and basically set up the room real quickly like this with a camera or two to capture that panel or event discussion. And the last device is our Pearl Nano, which we don't see used honestly as frequently on campuses. It's a single channel encoder recorder, but it really is a great one to literally have in your back pocket or in your backpack which is what Scott LeBounty does in the athletics department at Oregon, where they have Pearl 2s and Pearl Minis deployed in different spaces for their streaming to the Pac-12 network. But he's got one of these in case someone calls him up and says, hey, we have to stream this special event, or hey, the football coach wants to record this practice and we don't have a camera set up. This is a device that you can connect and be recording and streaming in less than 5 minutes. So it's really flexible and easy one to deploy really anywhere you need to capture or stream video. Bit that I did mention is our cloud service that really lets you manage these devices from anywhere, whether that's centralized where you're shipping them out across the country like some of our events clients do, or you might do if you're you need to bring in a high quality guest capture from a professor at another campus, or it's simply monitoring and managing your units within your deployment. One of the most fun conversations I've had with anybody was we were talking with Matt Parks at LSU Shreveport, who's got about 90 Pearls deployed across campus in their classrooms. And while we were talking, he went, got the alert, oh my God, the HDMI is not working right in one of the classrooms. He was able to log in from his desk and check and realize it's just unplugged and solve the issue without even leaving his office or closing the Zoom call, because it was just a quick alert like that he was able to address. And that's really what our cloud service is designed to let you do, and make it simple and easy to manage this whole fleet of devices, as well as you step into some of our more advanced or newer functions, you can do things like extract folks from a Teams or very soon Zoom call, turn them into SRT, bring them into a production, or even produce that entire show in the cloud. So for event streaming, we'll give you some more options there very shortly. But what we really wanted to focus on today and share was the case study video that we put together with Lisa and Tony and Brandon and the whole team at NC State University. So I will run that for you guys now, and then we'll open it up to have a conversation with everyone.
What keeps me excited is the advancement of technology. As a former broadcast engineer, and then to walk on this campus, it's just like, it's the candy jar.
NC State University is a land-grant institution. Our goal is to provide world-class education and research. At NC State, we love technology. We love using technology. It's a part of every space that we have. It's important to create highly advanced learning environments so that our faculty members have the ability to provide engaging instruction, and our students can access content quickly. Based off of the feedback that we receive from students, they definitely wanted courses recorded. And in order to do that, we wanted to make sure that we had a hardware-based recording environment.
When it's all integrated into a full learning experience, it makes a huge difference. It really just brings them to life, and it gets them excited.
NC State decided that we must move forward with providing capture capacity to all classrooms. We needed to go from 50 classrooms for capture to more than 200, with hundreds of concurrent recordings taking place.
We did a really extensive evaluation process.
We went through a bunch of tests with a bunch of different hardware and landed on the Epiphan Pearl.
And Epiphan checked off pretty much every criteria that we were looking at.
It was critical Pearl be able to integrate into our existing AV infrastructure.
Epiphan Pearl is being used across campus as the primary classroom capture system. The front-facing side of it is Panopto, but Epiphan is that workhorse behind that solution.
We have the Epiphan Pearls deployed within classrooms, responsible for capturing classes, and also in some of our specialty spaces so that they can capture meetings, special events, live events.
There's no room for failure, and so that's how we've built our lecture capture system.
My favorite feature is that it works. We have 80% of our classes being captured, over 1,500 faculty using the service, and 4 million views for our first full year.
It's been a breeze, frankly. We've now gone through 2 full semesters of thousands of recordings.
Classroom experience for faculty and students is really seamless. From a student standpoint, they have it instantaneously.
The faculty don't have to engage with it at all. It's automated so that it automatically starts, it automatically stops.
With the pandemic, pandemic, with teaching all across the state, accommodating students with different disabilities. I couldn't do any of that without the technology.
Pearl has created a more dynamic learning environment.
And it's bigger than just classroom capture. It's integrating every single aspect of the classroom.
Implementing the Pearl has helped transform our digital experience and keep students engaged to help get them that core content and to record more classes and have more access available to them.
That's what gives me my passion, is to watch people grow. Give them the tools and let them do it.
Awesome. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of appreciation for what, what Lisa and Brandon were able to do with the technology to really unlock some great experiences on campus. And we'll be here now. I mean, answer your questions, kind of you want to understand a little more in depth of, how they did it, where else we can deploy. I mean, let's open it up to the folks on the floor.
I have a question for Brandon. You mentioned that, I mean, that's impressive. That really looks nice. But you said you did a lot of research on this. Did you have an infrastructure in place before that you were looking to upgrade, or was this a brand new project?
We were doing classroom capture for 15 years prior to this using a different product. And in October of 2019, it became apparent that we needed to do a deep dive evaluation to make sure that what we were using was still the best solution for us. And we happened to be finalizing our evaluation in March of 2020. And Panopto ended up being the product that came out on top for us from the 4 finalists that we had whittled it down to. And part of what we liked about it was the fact that we could choose which hardware we used, which is how we ended up with Epiphan, because it gave us what we needed. And it allowed us to be able to go, as Ron had mentioned in the video, we went from having about 50 standard classrooms with recording to over 200 whenever we transitioned away from our previous product to Panopto. So it afforded us the ability to grow in scope more quickly than what we were using before.
And a quick follow-up then is you use Epiphan for the storage, or is that through Panopto's cloud-based?
We're using
is on local?
We are using Panopto for our distribution and our storage side of things.
I mean, I think
we're also using Epiphan's cloud service as well. Since we have so many deployed, the technicians requested that we please go ahead and do Epiphan Cloud as well.
It looks great. I mean, you guys did a good job. It just makes me jealous because I'm like, why can I want that stuff?
Well, we kept hearing from students over and over and over in our surveys. Previously, we were recording approximately 20% of the classes that were in spaces that had recording capability. And since we've made the transition, we're able to do the deployment across campus so that all of our general ed classrooms have recording capability. We're recording 80% of the classes that are taking place. We've set it up so that it's an opt-out service. We automatically create the schedules. And then the faculty members, if they don't want to record, can click on a link and go in and say, hey, turn that off. And it'll cancel out the schedule for the semester.
I mean, I'm not going to take a time. I may reach out to you, Lisa and Ron, just Brandon, I mean, on another, offline, just to chat further. Thanks.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
And
Matt, I went to Rutgers, so,
yeah.
and I know you and I worked together on something a little while ago. So if you ever need me to take the trip out, I'm super happy to do so.
Right. I wasn't gonna tag on you yet, Ron, but yeah, thanks for that. Appreciate it.
For sure.
Well, and I think just one thing from our side to follow up, Matt, and what you're asking around storing the video is honestly at Epiphan, we don't want to be your CMS. We've specifically made a decision. We don't want to be in the business of storing video. We want to do 4 things. We want to capture video. We want to record it. We want to stream it, and we want to let you enhance it. And those recordings are going to be, either local on device or in our cloud service, not for storage, but to get that capture so you can then download it or automatically send it to another tool.
Right, and I wasn't sure, because I
Yeah.
know you said, Lisa, you mentioned that you had the infrastructure in place, and I know sometimes you already have existing methods, so that was, that would be something else to talk about, but again, I'm not trying to take this over, so.
Oh,
Lisa, this is Raul over at Oregon State. And by the way, shout out, that is an Epiphan Pro right there over my shoulder. I don't want to necessarily hijack the conversation, but can you tell us a little bit more about faculty response to the opt-out approach of recording? I've had in my back pocket, it's probably sitting here on my desk somewhere, a white paper from the University of Nottingham, I think it is, in the UK, about the whole rigmarole they went through about how they were just going to turn on lecture capture everywhere on their campus, and the firestorm, and how they then had to go to the faculty senate and present it. And then, of course, what happens is that then nobody cares. They just record everything and nobody opts out, because really there was no real objection. Someone just thought that they needed to make a policy stand on that. And so how did it go on your campus?
Very similarly. Initially, when we first started communicating out that we were changing products and we were going to transition from opt-in to opt-out, there were very few people who were vocal, but there were a few faculty members that were very vocal. So we did have to go to the faculty senate and explain to them why we were trying to transition to the opt-out, shared with them the various survey data that we had from the students. We had 10 years worth of survey data from students consistently saying, why aren't all of my classes being recorded? This is a tool that I could really benefit from. Timing wise, if there could be a benefit from the pandemic, for us, it was that we were making that transition as we were trying to bring the university back online. So it became important to be able to say, we don't want students to come to campus when they are not feeling well. Therefore, we need to be able to record. Once we were able to deploy the automated scheduling process, and the recordings start on their own. So on the Crestron, a screen pops up to let them know that it's getting ready to record, and then they have the ability to pause or stop the recording. But once we got a semester under our belt, we didn't hear anything else from the faculty objecting. And we saw huge viewership. And we've tried to improve the opt-out process. Initially, when we rolled it out, it wasn't automated. They had to submit a ticket to ask to opt out, but luckily our developers were able to very quickly create a portal so that now they can just click on a link, go into a portal, they can turn on the webcast feature, they can opt out, or they can opt back in. When they opt out, it keeps the recording folder, but erases the schedule. So if they decide a few sessions in, oh, you know what, it turns out I really do need to record, they can just go back to that same link and say, opt me back in, and it regenerates the schedule overnight. Does that answer your question, Raul?
Absolutely, thank you.
If I were to ever deploy a technology and not have someone be worried about it, I would feel like something was not quite right in the higher ed world. So, but overall, we're getting great feedback from faculty and students. I really need you guys to ask something technical, because I kind of strong-armed Brandon into being here so that he could talk more. I can talk on the strategy side, he can talk on the technical side. So I encourage a techie answer or techie question.
Oh, I had a question, but not really technical, but
Okay.
Obviously you need to have really good data from the registrar's department. We tried to incorporate automatic recording at one point using a different technology, but it failed miserably because schedules are still changing for classes even 3 to 4 weeks into the semester. There was also a concern with classes that went overtime, where you had faculty having private conversations with students that were then recorded, which still happens to this day, and we have to manually cut those out. for privacy reasons. How did you overcome those types of battles?
The biggest issues that we have at the beginning of the semester are inaccuracies within our information system, within our student information system. The program runs nightly, so that as changes are made to the scheduling system, it gets picked up overnight. But we still have to go in. The programmers have had to work through trying to figure out how to handle cross-listed courses or courses that are really in the same classroom but have two different course numbers associated with them, that sort of thing. So it's not completely error-free, but we've tried to build in as many checks and balances as we can. But overall, our student information system is pretty clean. What are we in the spring? So this is our 4th semester. And I think we've finally gotten to the point where the scheduling officers have really caught on to the fact how important it is that they go in if there is a room change or any type of change to a course and make the update in the system, because our automation can't catch it if it's not updated in the information system. So it's really been about the programmers working hard to try and build in some different checks and balances, us trying to make sure that we're communicating well with the scheduling coordinators within the individual colleges, and making sure that we're keeping open communication with the faculty members so that if they make a change. As far as the running over, we have it set up so that the recording can be extended. Brandon, is it 4 minutes? 5 minutes? 5 minutes beyond the scheduled stop time or end time for the class. After that 5 minutes, it's a hard out. But again, because we do have on our Crestron control panels the ability to pause or stop the recording, we try to remind the faculty through training that, hey, if you finish early, or if it's still recording and you're going to have a conversation with a student, make sure you either pause or stop. And then, of course, we've built a really big FAQ database, so that for things like how to go in and remove the last 5 minutes of the lecture where you were having a conversation, so that TAs or faculty can go in and do that and not have to submit a ticket and try and get somebody to help them with it. Does that mostly answer for you, Jeff?
Yeah.
I wish that I could say that my programmers are brilliant and they wrote code that was so strong that it could just read the minds of people whenever they change classrooms, but we are dependent upon clean data, and it does have to be entered into the system so that our program can go in and pull it.
Well, as directors of media services and IT and support services, all of us here, we're the ones who have to read the minds. So,
and then convince them that it really is a great idea, and they'll love it once it gets going. Don't fear change.
I love the Epiphan product. I mean, I have a couple deployed at Suffolk, which you saw our logo there with all the other universities. This is not a paid comment, but we have used them in our courtrooms. Specifically, our largest courtroom has 6 cameras in it. And correct me if I'm wrong, Julian, but I think we can record all 6 channels at once, but you can only display 4 in a quad. So we had a lot of times we have the Massachusetts Appeals Court, Patent Court, and some other district courts come in to use our space, where they actually hear cases for the benefit of some of those judges are Suffolk alum, or perhaps there's attorneys on the case that are alum, or gives the opportunity for students to see what happens in a real courtroom, assuming they haven't been busted for something in the past. But what was really cool is they were doing a video that they wanted to create that would show, interns and the general public how a particular trial court works, or even how a jury works, or what have you. And so they set up all these 6 cameras and looking at different things, whether it's the judge and the jury, or the different, the prosecution, the defense tables, all those kinds of things. And then they basically hit record, and all the drives inside the Pearl recorded all at once, and the product worked great. It was all 2K, which is fine. And it worked great. And so far, they've been working pretty well. A couple of glitches here and there, but for the most part, it's a really great product.
Well, we're certainly glad to hear it. And Jeff, just a little bit on the correction there. You are correct that when we initially launched the kind of multi-viewer mode where you had the grid of 2 or 4 up, that used to only be available when it's initial launch. But if you have a Pearl 2, you can actually set it to all 6 as a source. So if you want to do each individual video source seen on an HDMI output, you can absolutely do that. Or we also see a lot of people in different spaces, like in EDU, like in government, like in legal, where you might have, if you're using any sort of CMS integration, have it set up to look at system information. So you'll get a preview of your audio VU meters going up and down, any scheduled upcoming events along the top, if it's recording or webcast or live streaming, how long it's been elapsed, and then how much time is left. So lots of information there that's available.
And I think,
yeah, with our Crestron touch panel, we've set it up so that let's say you have a quad or even like a 3 or 2, doesn't matter what it is. You can touch the source and then touch what quadrant you want it in. What part you want it in. So you might have a shot of the judge's bench. You might have a shot of an area where a student attorney would be, making his case, and the third option might be content, and that's all programmable through a touch panel that talks to the Pearl. It works great.
so the fun with this on our side too is, like Matt said, we've released, I think since Pearl 2 came out, it's something like 160 different like feature updates in the firmware. So we're always adding new things. The new one that's going to come out on Monday actually includes greater NDI-HX support on Pearl 2, and it'll bring that NDI-HX to Pearl Mini. So, Lisa, when you guys are thinking about redesigning, rooms, adding new cameras, cool, we can bring NDI right into the Pearl Minis that you guys installed 2 years ago. Great, don't have to think about new hardware. It's a firmware update on that side. Similarly, I mentioned the QSys module that's coming out in the next couple days. We're also going to be releasing an updated Crestron module in the next few weeks. That was a direct result of feedback from some of the folks on this call and others about, hey, I wish I could do this on my Crestron touchscreen. So we're making some updates there with Crestron. They're finishing off some things on their side, and that'll be available shortly as well, probably sometime in March.
And if there are any
that is one
programmers
thing I want to. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Lisa. I'll just, if there are any programmers in here or people that do play with API commands, REST or otherwise, if there's something you can't find that you want to know, we want to hear about it. We are actively working on guides to make sure that people are set up for success, especially if they're using CMS integration. So please let us know. We want to know so we can make it better for you.
Yeah, and all I was going to say was one of the things that made our deployment borderline pain-free was that even though we were doing it at scale and we were completely changing the system and pulling old hardware out and putting new hardware in, sometimes having to do recut cabling, we had to redo the Crestron. When we ran into issues, Epiphan was really good about working with us to troubleshoot and figure it out. And there was one particular model of the Crestron processors that had a problem. And so we had to have Epiphan, Panopto, and Crestron all talking to each other to try and identify what the root issue was with the problem, what was causing the problem. And because Epiphan was willing to come to the table and repeatedly answer our questions and look at our spreadsheets where we were tracking the issues and dig in and then work with our partners, we were able to get the solution, get it up and running before the semester started. So that was different than what we were experiencing with the previous product that we were using. So that in and of itself made me quite happy. And Brandon used to have really long hair until we started using the other product. And now he's starting to get some hair that's coming back in because things are easier for him on the technical side.
I will ask a technical question, and I do want to say first, I don't know if it was at just the beginning of this presentation or if it was a previous session. It's all a blur now. The idea of faculty being able to just swipe in with their card on a Crestron that then passes that information along is a very appealing one to me. But to my technical question, I think where we fall short here on our campus is in programming resources. We are we are very shy when it comes to having to customize any kind of code. And so maybe you guys can speak a little bit to the self-service components where someone can go and opt out or opt in. Like, what does the dashboard look like, and how do what programming language or what scripts are you using to connect that presumably web dashboard to what I assume is the Panopto interface, so that Panopto then knows to trigger the starts and stops on the Crestron.
So it sounds as if you're referring to authenticating users for
that is one part of it, yes, but then also I assume you have like a web dashboard that allows for the automation of someone who wants to opt out or later come back and then opt back in. And so is that dashboard a homebrew dashboard that then talks to Panopto?
Yes. Yes, we have a custom portal that our programmers have built that started out with a different mission, and we were able to add in the opt-in and opt-out portal because we were already starting to track where our devices were, what rooms they were in, and pulling in the scheduling information. We were using that tool to help generate the automated schedules, and then from there tied it in for the opt-in and opt-out so that there's a front-facing page that the faculty can go to. And then on the backside, when the faculty has opted in or opted out, the program goes through and runs nightly to synchronize with the student information system. So that's how we are updating that side of things. And I'll be happy to schedule time with you if you'd like to take a look at what our portal looks like. And I can even get our primary programmer who helped develop the portal. I can schedule some time with her if you would like to ask her some specific questions for the programming side of things. And then we took a slightly different approach within the classroom itself for ad hoc recording. We did not want to put the Pearl Minis on the actual lecterns for fear that we already had a Crestron panel on the lectern, and we also had smart monitors on the lecterns, and then we had our microphones sitting on the lectern and so forth. And sometimes people come in and they just start touching things, or they'll unplug things. That's the worst, is when they just unplug something. It's like, oh, there's this cable here and I don't want them to spy on me, so I'm going to unplug this. So we decided that we didn't want to actually have the minis sitting on the podium. So we did some, Brandon can actually speak to this somewhat because he helped develop the workflow, but we basically set it up so that they could use the local record interface on the computer. And we set up basically a tunnel to the dedicated Pearl for that room. Brandon, I'll let you talk a little bit more about it, but basically with our old product, we had a software-based solution that they could use to do ad hoc recording. And because we didn't want to have those Pearls there, we wanted to keep the same type of workflow so that there was just a shortcut on the desktop. They could double click on it, put in their credentials, name the recording, and then say start, and then it would trigger the recording.
As a matter of fact, and we've had some requests to add the record now function from Epiphan to several of our classrooms, in which, for what Lisa just mentioned, that's exactly what faculty can do. They can enter a classroom, simply click on that link, authenticate themselves using their Unity IDs here, and it's going to point directly to the Pearl Mini that is the resource for that room, which is in a rack in a separate control room. So they don't have to worry about any kind of interaction with hardware. By default, they'll just get their camera and content. They press record. It's already associated with their folder in Panopto. Record, stop, walk away. I think it defaults to 60 minutes for those ad hocs, but they do have the option to extend the time once they initiate the recording.
And for the badge bit, that was Magnus over at Norwegian Technical University. That we're happy to connect you with him as well. That's something that we actually didn't even know he was working on, and chatted about a little bit, and then he brought it up at ISE and sent over a YouTube video that he had made of how it works, and it's pretty slick. So that's kind of like Lisa and Branda were describing they did at NC State. It's him building his own programming with the Crestron side, as well as hitting our APIs and then feeding stuff back in Opto.
Thank you.
So I have a question, kind of. Two questions. I'm sorry, I've been not a great moderator here. We're having some back end emergencies that I've had to deal with. But I guess kind of two questions. One, you guys have automated, clearly automated, like the Panopto integration, like with your LMS, it seems. What LMS are you using?
We are a Moodle campus.
Okay, all right, yeah. So we're in the process of working on integrating with Canvas. So I was gonna, if that, but and then my other question is, so currently we're using, actually, Julian, you said something earlier, when you were introducing the thing about the evaluators, and one of them so that was us. That was us at Northwestern. We used the Pearl Mini to kind of save an event there when a different remote recorder failed. And I was super impressed with it, and I'm kind of pushing towards maybe trying to move towards that. But it's a lot more expensive than what we currently use, right? And there's ways that I can kind of work around that. And one of those is by putting the thing on top of the desk and replacing the confidence monitor stuff and some other things that we use. Is there some sort of a mounting solution you have that I could do that with, or you work with a partner that makes one? Because I don't want to just leave it sitting up there that somebody could just come and unplug it or unplug wires back of it. You know what I mean?
They do have a Kensington lock slot on them, so you can secure it, but you still want to cover the wires. I know some folks have built different enclosures or built them into different lecterns. I don't know, Matt, if you've worked with any of those folks, you've been a lot more hands-on with some of these deployments.
I did speak with two universities that made custom plates that covered the back and the bottom, or the face plate of the actual Mini, where the SD card typically sits. And what they did was, I can't remember which university by name, but there's two of them. So one of them did a simple plate that basically wrapped around a VESA mount, because Pearl Mini does have VESA mounts on the bottom. I believe they're the 100mm ones. And that one just kind of almost sat on like an articulating arm, and just everything was kind of shielded and protected through like a custom like metal sheeting housing basically there. And then there was another university who basically created this little almost like box that the Pearl Mini lived in on the desk, and it sat up at an angle so that the screen was at a perfect 60-degree angle staring down, so they could see it at a reference at any point in time. But a lot of that was just like home built, almost like cabinetry style.
Right.
I will reach out to through our channels to see if I can recall exactly which universities are, and see if I can get my hands on either their plans or who they might have gone through for manufacturing those, like the plates and stuff for the covers. But that may take a little bit of time. We have worked with a lot of schools.
Yeah, and we're happy to help you with the design side of that too. And on the kind of live event side, we do a lot of work with those folks, and building custom cases and racks and getting pearls to fit right. So yeah, we're happy to share anything you need for that side as you build it and connect you with the right people.
Cool, thank you.
And we're a little happy that you unmasked yourself as the reviewer of music, because Ron,
I've been trying to figure that one out.
Yeah, it's great to hear.
So I know that there's a few people who haven't asked any questions that are kind of here. Anything you want to talk about in terms of the solution? There are no bad questions, only the ones that I ask. So just anyone have anything?
I have a question for Brandon, actually, from a gear and just a procurement and a setup side, basically for the actual classrooms and the typical setups that you see. what have you found has been like kind of the biggest challenge as you guys had shifted to like an 80% capture rate for online courses? Was it distraction from things like a confidence or a smart screen? Was it finding the right placement for things like microphones and cameras where you're capturing, the content correctly? Or was it really just kind of the adoption of actually going, oh, we're actually already recording or actually already doing a session, and then, having a waste of 10 minutes while people are trying to decide, am I actually recording?
So fortunately, on my side, here on Lisa's team in digital education, learning technology applications, as I try to get that out in one word, we were already the recording people on campus. So 100% of our spaces were utilizing, a platform for content management 100% of the time. However, one thing that I can say is that once I got a Pro Mini in my hands, what I did like about it is you mentioned the term confidence monitor, and there's nothing better than setting up a box and having a confidence monitor right on the box. So, especially in our case, we have multiple cameras. We're going through a Crestron DM 32 by 32, a lot of signals getting DA'd. So just making sure once the box is connected, there's my signal, that's the resolution I'm looking for. So that was one thing, but just to dial it back to what you were asking, fortunately here we were 100% classroom capture ready, specifically in our spaces. But there's probably some campus partners that may be able to better speak to that transition.
Thank you.
Have we exhausted everyone's questions, shared enough knowledge?
All right, I'll call out Cindy. Cindy, you joined a little late, and you're a huge fan of the Epiphan product line. Was there any questions that you have for NC State?
Hi there. So I asked Ron, because I did just join, how about those Red Sox? Sorry, I am a huge fan of the Epiphan product family, and Epiphan did an amazing job when we were at ISC, produced our an event for us, which was really great. Yeah, it's just super easy. Loved it. Thank you, everyone.
Quite welcome, Cindy. I know we've got 8 more minutes. Are there anything else to cover?
Hey, Ron, real quick. I mean, maybe, or anyone could answer this. In New Jersey, who would be somebody, because I am immediately, without even speaking closely with Lisa and Brandon, I want to go drive down to North Carolina. But before I do something like that, is there anyone around me in New Jersey that is using this product reliably?
In the New Jersey area, I have to take a look. I'm trying to think. I actually think, what's weird is does Rutgers not have any? Because I've seen Rutgers on the list. I just don't know if it's a different school within Rutgers or.
You have a number of schools, and I know we have somebody in Camden that created their own program, and they do their own stuff, and they record everything that comes in. It's not anything like this, but we don't have anything infrastructure. My area does the largest portion of the classrooms in New Brunswick, but we've never had a press from faculty for this, and I'm just trying to be proactive on it.
I'd say if you were looking for anything, Julian lives relatively close. Him and I can come out and do a demo on campus.
And we've also, I mean, NYU has a bunch that they've rolled out over the last 6 months that's relatively close to you guys in New Brunswick. I know that there are others, and part of, like I said, the fun is we don't know exactly how everybody's deployed every single pro on campus. We have a bunch of customers that they're just happy. We rarely hear from them, so they don't come top of mind, especially New York Metro. I was talking with Sarah, with Jesus at Sarah Lawrence College last week. And he kind of was this like, who else is local? I'm like, it's like NYU and Rhode Island was the next closest one right off the top of my head that has a lot of them.
Yeah, I recall NYU years ago was a big Echo 360 campus. And I know I don't know what happened. I know they're no longer. So I could reach out to them at times, but that's interesting. Thanks.
But Matt, I'll do some digging and I'll get with you in the next week.
Okay, no problem. Thanks everyone on that.
Cindy actually has a real question.
I do have a real question. I'm sorry, because my company, we need to be doing video at my company. And I'm always getting asked the question, how many people does it really take, besides the interviewer and interviewee, how many people does it take to actually run this? And what kind of expertise? I'm sure you covered this. That's why I didn't want to ask. And what kind of expertise is needed?
I mean, the fun is, it again depends on the deployment. Like Raul and Lisa and Brandon, their teams have all deployed basically self-serve solutions powered by, the restaurant in the classroom. You can do it that way. BC Hatchet at Vanderbilt has done a complete self-serve, Cindy, where you could have that. It's just the Pearl Mini as the interface, as the screen, as the confidence monitor. Just sit down. There's a big start button. You press that, and at the end, you pull it. You pull your thumb drive off the back of the Pearl Mini, and cool, you've got your recording on your thumb drive. You can load it on your computer and go wherever you'd like. So there's, it's truly a Swiss Army knife. A lot of these, that there are a lot of different ways we can deploy it, from all the way from self-serve to like what we were doing at ISE, where Dan on our team was sitting. We didn't make him go to the office. Our HQ is in Ottawa. We let him sit at home because of the time difference. We didn't want him going into work at 3 a.m. But he was controlling the entire studio for all the interviews that we did, both with Higher Ed AV and for AVT and Markets Contractor, all from Ottawa. So you could even bring in one person remotely to run that studio too, and that's kind of the power of the cloud bit. So it's flexible, but it's easy.
Okay, I've got to convince the team that it really truly is easy, and it looks. Thank you.
I mean, I'll say I'm the first one to be the not really know too much about how this all works. Within 15 minutes of getting a Pearl turned on, I was streaming my own show, and I'm a pluggy. I'm the AV port guy. I'm not the AV operator. I'll wire it. I don't know how to run it. So
thanks.
Jimmy's been really quiet, and he's just sitting there with his picture. Jimmy, we've talked a few times. You just can't hide. So what questions do you have, since we've talked so many times?
I don't have a ton of questions around, I guess, the deployment. Like you said, I think a lot of people that we have this conversation with is that it's hopefully easy enough that people don't have too many questions, right? That's the goal. And we did a school in Northern Illinois University. They did a rollout, and they have I think 90 pearls or something like that. And they're doing a tie-in with their, I think they have Panopto too. So it seems to be pretty common. It's just a matter of why more schools aren't doing it. I think it's an easy sell once people see it, but it's hard to kind of explain the value behind it before you actually see it in person and get to use it and go, oh wow, that's cool, that's easy. So yeah, I don't have a ton of questions, but I support you guys, and
well, you bring up something very, it was brought up earlier, and when I was at ETC at Roger Williams, I don't know, was that 2 weeks ago at this point, 3 weeks ago? The days are all blurry. And I spoke to a gentleman from Boston College, and he also echoed the fact that the university requires, or the college requires, everything to be captured. That is a requirement. Then it's up to the professors to post it or not. The more I hear and the more conversations I've had, it actually feels like things are heading in that direction, where capture on campus is actually going to be a 100% requirement. I do think we're at this kind of infancy of it, where universities are making the decisions to kind of to do it and do it the right way. But I think also where we're heading to is a requirement for all universities and colleges to have this capability. And being on the forefront of this before you have to make this dramatic shift, I think is really important. But the more I've seen, it seems to be a very hot topic, and a hotter topic in the last 6 months than previous.
I do kind of have a question around that then for NC State. Maybe I missed this at the beginning, but did you really have too much of an uptick? I know you mentioned you have a long list of FAQs that you offer to your faculty and whatnot. And putting any new technology in a classroom is normally either pulling teeth or they're okay with it. And then sometimes they really like it. Did you have a lot of was it a heavy training curve or was it pretty simple once it was in?
It was a much smaller curve than I expected. We did work really hard to get our materials prepared and available before we actually went live with the product. And we have a training team that worked with, that created custom training, and we worked we created custom training for the faculty to try and get them ready before we did the full scale deployment. But there wasn't a whole lot of training needed because we tried to keep things as simple as possible. And again, because we built the FAQ, it made it pretty easy. The most common things that that our faculty had questions about didn't have anything to do with the actual recording. It was usually permissions. They would have a TA, and because the TA is not enrolled in the course, they didn't automatically get viewing access to that particular faculty member's class. So we'd get a ticket, hey, my TA can't see it. So, oh, here's the FAQ on exactly how you grant permission. So I was honestly shocked at, I would say that we had lower ticket volume whenever we changed over to the new system than we did previously. So each semester we're all really nervous, 2 weeks before the semester starts, because we've done all this testing and we've sometimes changed hardware or we've pushed new firmware, et cetera. And we know that usually we get this big spike the first 3 weeks of a semester, and we haven't had that the last 3 semesters. It's been quite lovely. We have a spike, but nothing like the giant mountain that we had in 2018 and early 2019. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
I think we're starting to run into everybody's happy hour now. So
Oh yeah.
we're no one else has any other questions or else I want to add. I guess we could probably head over there and enjoy a little chat with the big group.
Yeah. No, thanks so much for presenting for us. Epiphan and NC State. It was very informative, and I enjoyed the presentation, and I'm sure everybody else got a lot out of it like I did.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, everybody, and thank you again, Lisa and Brandon, for joining us, because we can talk all we want about what we do, but it's really about empowering folks like them to deliver some cool things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Right.
Yeah.